Good morning. My name is Frank Ramos, and I'm coming to you from my office here in Miami. And today we'll be talking about marketing for young lawyers. Why should you market if you're a young lawyer? You think the business would come from your partners or mothers at the firm. But it's important, even early in your career, to start developing the relationships that will lead to referrals, that will lead to a book of business that will help define your career. And so it's never too early to start marketing yourself and your practice. So let's take a step back and think about what that looks like. Let's assume you're a recent grad or even you've been practicing for a few years and you start asking yourself, well, how do I market myself, my practice, my firm? The first fundamental step is to do good quality work so that others people can come to see you as a lawyer they know and they trust. So fundamentally, you have to develop a strong skill set. You have to determine what areas of practice you want to pursue and specialize in. The earlier in your career, the better, and dive deep and really learn those areas well and become known as an expert in that area, in that subject matter area. Could be cybersecurity, could be negligent security, it could be employment, ADA, whatever it might be. Whatever the practice area that you really are passionate about, try to find the opportunity to pursue that area, dive deep in that area, and learn as much as you can about that practice area. Because you want to become known as somebody, as the go-to attorney in your geography that handles those types of matters. So that's sort of the fundamental level, the basic foundational level, where you take the time to read the materials, go to the CLE courses, the webinars, listen to the podcasts, follow the thought leaders in that area, and read everything you can and learn everything you can about that area. So when you handle those cases, you handle them well, you handle them thoroughly, and you help provide the client the services that they're looking for and hoping for. And that way, when you talk about it and when you speak about it and you share your thoughts and ideas about that subject matter, you come across as somebody who's thoughtful, who is confident, who has a certain level of gravitas because you're talking about something you know. You're coming from a position of authority, position of power and thoughtfulness. And so the first step of developing business and marketing yourself is really learning your craft. That is the first and fundamental area. And that's true for any of us, no matter how long you've been practicing. And whenever you want to sort of delve into or pursue a different practice area, it's the same rules apply. You have to sort of dig deep. You have to go to the foundation, learn everything you can, and study it thoroughly. There are lots of materials these days online. There are webinars, there are podcasts, there are books, there are articles, there are blogs, there are people to follow on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. There is a plethora of resources that no matter what area you want to pursue, there's a lot out there. And actually, a lot of it is free, to be perfectly honest. But invest in yourself. Take some time and money if need be, if your firm's not willing to do that, and take the time and spend the money to really develop that practice area, whatever it might be, and try to find something that really you enjoy. And maybe you're at a firm now and you're not maybe doing the work you really want to do. And it's satisfying to a degree, but not as satisfying as you would hope. Try to define for yourself what practice areas you think you'd really enjoy and explore them. Again, there's plenty of podcasts and webinars that are free that you can go online and get some additional background in those areas. And they'll provide enough background information for you to determine whether or not you think you would enjoy pursuing it and representing clients in those matters. And if you do, then dive deeper and kind of think about it as sort of, going in layers. The first layer is very superficial. You learn the general outline and context of that subject matter, then you dig deeper into the next layer. Maybe you read some materials, some case books or course materials for a given practice area. Then you go deeper into that, read the case law, the regulations, and so forth. Maybe study what materials are out there, and then keep going further and further down and down until you've really learned that subject matter. It takes time, takes energy, takes patience, and you have a full-time job and it is something you'll have to be doing on your own. This isn't really billable work. This is really trying to develop your expertise in a given area. And we all have families and obligations and hobbies and other things to pursue. But that's really the best approach. You find a subject matter that you love and you learn everything there is to learn about that subject matter. And to the extent your firm handles those cases, do your best to try to get assigned to those matters. And if your firm isn't assigned to those cases, learn everything you can about it anyway, and try to seek out clients on smaller matters that handle or need help with those cases. Maybe you can speak on that subject area. You can certainly get involved in voluntary bar associations with committees that address or handle that subject matter. You can write on that subject matter. You can discuss it with others who are experts in that field. The thing is, you want to amass as much information and knowledge about it as possible, both the substantive and the practical and sort of the softer issues related to that issue. You want to put yourself out there as someone who is genuinely interested and is knowledgeable about that subject matter. And that's generally getting involved through voluntary bar associations or trade associations and speaking through them and to their members, writing for their members, and so on and so forth. And eventually, people will come to know you and respect you as a thought leader in that field. Now, how long does that take? It depends in large part on the subject matter you're pursuing. Some are very specialized and very narrow. And because they are so narrow and specialized, they don't take as long to master than maybe a broader, more expansive topic. Especially if you're not only diving into the subject matter, but you're diving into sort of a subspecialty of that subject matter. Maybe you're not only doing cybersecurity, but there's some smaller niche in cybersecurity that you really want to specialize in. And so developing that expertise may not take as long. Of course, you are sort of working in a smaller pool, a smaller number of potential clients. But if you become known in that area, you may become the go-to attorney in your area for those matters. There's an attorney here in South Florida that I know that handles only non-compete agreements, and he has a fairly large firm that's all they do. You would think, well, how can a firm be lucrative and do well handling such sort of a narrow area of employment disputes? But he's done quite well for himself. And so again, find your niche, dive deep, learn everything you can about it, become an expert in that area. And the more you learn, the more you share your expertise. Once you feel comfortable that you can speak about and share your thoughts about intelligently with others, seek out opportunities to speak, seek out opportunities to write, consider creating your own blog, certainly post on a regular basis on LinkedIn and other social media platforms, and people will come to know you as the person that they can know and trust and like when it comes to that subject matter. And if they have a case in your neck of the woods, they'll probably pick up the phone or email you and give you a call or send you an email about representing them or representing one of their clients in that type of matter. So that's sort of the large scope of things. And again, no matter how far out you are from law school, whether you're just a few weeks out, a few years out, or even a few decades out, that's sort of the tried and true approach to developing business. You pick a practice area, maybe you pick more than one, but you focus yourself. You're not a generalist or jack of all trades. There are certain people who do that. There are certain people who have made names for themselves by handling a wide, diverse types of matters. And they enjoy the diversity. They enjoy handling different things all the time. That's certainly a way of doing it. It's, I think, a little bit more difficult. And I think it's easier to secure clients and procure a book of business by first defining who you are and what you want to do as an attorney, and then becoming known as an expert in one or two practice areas, maybe three, but certainly not a half dozen or more. So once you've done that, then you go out there and you have a reputation. You have a certain level of confidence because now you feel that you know what you're talking about. And if you have a conversation with a prospective client or potential referral source about that area or subject matter, you speak from a base of knowledge. You know what the cases are, what the regulations are, what the do's and don'ts are, what the processes are, how to handle those matters, or at least you have a strong understanding of how to handle those matters because you've done your research, your due diligence, and you've taken a deep dive into the deep end of the pool and really have learned that practice area. So that's it in general sense. Become a subject matter expert, and then let others know that you're a subject matter expert. And this is really sort of the classic marketing aspect. The first part of it was, becoming an expert. May not have been that intuitive. When we think of marketing, we think of sort of sending out and sharing our business cards. We think of print ads and commercials. We think of cocktail parties and holding scotch on the rocks in our hands and giving our elevator speech. And that's part of it, I suppose. But the larger part of it is communicating to others what you do in a way that they understand and that they remember you, so that when they have a need on a matter that you handle, they'll consider picking up the phone or emailing you about that need. And so how do you go about doing that? So let's assume you're already in the process of developing yourself as a subject matter expert, or becoming known, or laying the foundation for a given practice area. Let's say you defend negligent security cases, and that's sort of your niche practice. You represent insurers and premises owners and corporations when they're sued in negligent security matters. So how do people get to know you in that area? Well, you do several things. One, you speak on the matter. You find trade associations or voluntary bar associations where attorneys or potential clients will be attending who are interested in that type of topic, and you speak on the topic. And you do it in a way that's convincing, that shows that you know what you're talking about, that where you can hold everybody's attention, that you own your space and you own the floor, and you're communicating your expertise in a fashion that it's easy to understand, it's simple, it's direct, and it makes sense to the audience. And they enjoy it. It's somewhat entertaining. To the extent we've all been to our share of conferences and to our share of presentations, and nothing is deadlier than PowerPoint slides with very little font and type on one slide after another on a large slide deck, with basically someone reading to you. I mean, I don't really want that. None of you want that. But having someone who gets in front of an audience without notes and without a PowerPoint and just sharing his or her story about that type of case or matter in a way that is compelling and tells a story to the audience certainly invokes a certain type of confidence in the audience and makes them more memorable. So you speak, you get involved in organizations, you speak, you write, you contribute to whatever newsletter, magazine, or newspaper they may have. You edit, and you go out to their events. These days, it's mostly virtual. Virtual happy hours and committee meetings and so forth. And you introduce yourself and you let others know in a few words, maybe in a sentence, that you are an attorney from X city and you defend negligent security matters for a variety of clients. And that's your elevator speech, in effect. In just in a phrase or in a short sentence, you're letting people know where you practice and what you practice. And so people will come to know you as that sort of person, that when they have that type of matter, they will come to trust you. Now, we all in our own lives are looking for subject matter experts. Let's say I had messed up my left shoulder and I needed orthopedic surgery. I'm probably going to look for an orthopedic surgeon that has handled his or her share of shoulder surgery. Let's say it's a rotator cuff tear. I'm gonna look for a surgeon who's done hundreds, if not thousands, of that surgery. I'm not to look for just some general surgeon who's maybe just done a handful of those. If I am looking to paint my house, I'm probably going to find somebody who's painted their share of homes. If I'm looking to have somebody repair my AC, I'm going to have somebody who has a track record repairing home air conditionings. So whatever we do in our own personal lives, we're always looking for somebody who is specialized and has experience handling those matters. And clients who are looking for lawyers to represent them are no different. When a client, whether it's a large corporation or a small one or an individual, and they have a specific type of case that they need help with, they're going to find an attorney in that jurisdiction who handles those types of cases. And so the question becomes, well, how do they get to know you? How do they know that you handle those cases? And that's why social media, your website, and your online presence is so important. because no matter what practice area you have, no matter what subject matter you pursue or the types of cases you handle, the odds are there are other lawyers that are probably as good as you who are also handling those same matters in your neck of the woods. It's just a matter of fact. There's so many lawyers in this country, in the state, in the city, in Miami, so many. So let's getting back to my negligent security defense example. You have to imagine that if I'm doing that, representing clients in negligent security defense, I'm not the only civil defense lawyer handling that. And I'm probably not the only one who may consider him or herself an expert in that area. And I'm probably not the only one, if there's a list out there, some imaginary list of negligent security defense lawyers in Miami, I imagine there's probably at least a couple dozen, if not more. And so how do I get at the forefront of the minds of the person who is going to pick up the phone and try to find somebody to represent them, let's say at a hotel chain where there was a negligent security matter, there was a murder in the parking lot, and there's issues about lighting and security guards and so forth, and there's a fairly large wrongful death suit that's being filed, and they're looking for counsel. Putting aside issues of whether or not you're on a certain panel counsel and whether a certain insurance company or hotel chain would even have you on their list, putting those issues aside for the moment, the larger issue is, are you somebody that's going to be in their frame of mind? Are you going to be front of mind when they're thinking of who we should hire for that type of case? And there's a way of doing that, by the way, several ways, but let's talk about it more holistically. In terms of becoming known as someone as the go-to attorney, the go-to negligent security defense lawyer in South Florida, let's say, you need to approach it on multifactorial way. One, you have to have obviously a website that sort of explains and highlights that experience so that if somebody looks you up on the website, it confirms your expertise in that area. You have to have a significant and strong social media presence, preferably on LinkedIn, but perhaps on other platforms where you're regularly and constantly posting on that subject matter. If I am a negligent security defense expert, I am posting regularly on cases, regulations, on jury verdicts, on articles, on issues that are pertinent to that area. And I'm providing my thoughts and analysis as to what is coming out in that area. I'm sort of at the cutting edge, at the forefront of how that area of law is evolving and developing. And I am sharing my insight so that people who follow me know what to expect and how to handle those sort of cases. And in the process of doing that, I am coming across certainly as an expert in that area. I'm perhaps blogging, I am writing articles, and I am speaking, and I am sharing all that on social media. And I am developing a reputation and a brand consistently and coherently and extensively on social media and anything else online that indicates and shows that I am a subject matter expert in negligent security cases, defending them. And so what is happening is that I have a large following. I have people reading my stuff. They're sharing my posts. They're commenting on them. I'm being asked to be quoted by journalists and others when negligent security issue comes up. Whenever there is a panel or a need of a speaker, I'm being asked for it because, again, I've created a brand and I pushed that brand out there as somebody who really knows that area, and I've backed it up by the articles and the posts I've written and the commentary I've provided and the speeches and presentations I've shared and given, and perhaps been a guest on podcasts or webinars or whatever it might be. And speaking of webinars and podcasts, that's another great way of getting your name out there. You can create your own webinars through Zoom, much similar to this format. These days, all of us have Zoom accounts. You can certainly reach out to podcast hosts. These are, there are hundreds of hosts, by the way, who do legal related podcasts. It seems as if these days, every law firm, every trade association, every voluntary bar association, every legal vendor has their own podcast. And for the most part, many of them operate on having guests speak on their podcasts. A few are basically talking heads, one or two people talking about various issues. You see that a lot with law firms. But more and more, you have a lot of podcasts where they're sort of pursuing and seeking out guests to speak on various issues. And so put yourself out there. Look up podcasts that cater to or address the subject matter you do in your daily practice, and volunteer to be a guest in their podcast. I do that all the time. I've been the guest of maybe 3 dozen podcasts over the last year. Because of COVID, a lot of us went online. Podcasts really took off. Podcast hosts needed podcast guests, and a lot of them do their own due diligence, try to seek people out, but they're always open to having people reach out to them directly on their websites or through social media and offer your services as a guest. And I would say that I had a fairly large success rate. I would say that maybe over half the people I pitched myself to as a guest agreed to have me on as a guest. And I thought the presentations went quite well. They would then send me a link, which I would then share on my social media and also share on my personal website, miamimentor.com. And I thought that was a great way of promoting myself, my firm, and the practice areas that we do. So that's certainly what you want to do. So in a nutshell, getting back, you develop an expertise in 1 or 2 practice areas, 3 at most, and 2, you get others to know that you are an expert in that area by pushing out your expertise through speaking, writing, publishing, podcasts, webinars, and social media. And those are really the 2 key steps. And so how do you go about doing that? That's sort of the general umbrella approach. Well, what I suggest you do is that you prepare a personal marketing or strategic plan for yourself for the coming year. I'm recording this, let's say, on December 18th, and it is close to the end of the year. And this is a good time for all of us at the end of the year, the beginning of the following year, to sit down and come up with a year-long plan for ourselves, specifically for our careers and for our marketing efforts. Most firms do that, and I recommend most lawyers do that as well. My first step in suggesting to you is to find out what your firm's marketing efforts are going to be for the coming year. To the extent that they share that with you, to the extent that it is available to younger lawyers, find out what the firm's approach is for the coming year in terms of their general marketing efforts, the clients they're trying to pursue and target, the practice areas they're expanding on, the organizations they're getting involved with, what they're speaking, what they're writing about, how they're growing their website and their digital footprint. Learn as much as you can about what your firm is doing. Some firms keep things close to the vest. They only allow the top people to really discuss that. Some firms don't really want their associates involved. Some firms are very open about it. Some firms have open sort of marketing meetings that involve not only senior partners and junior partners, but even senior and junior associates. So, each firm is different. Each firm has their own approach. I'm not here to say one firm's approach is better than the other. Each one has their reasons for doing the way they do things. But to the extent you can secure information about your firm's approach, certainly try to do that. Certainly inquire that with your managing partner, with your administrative partner, with whoever is handling the marketing efforts, maybe if you have a marketing department, and see what the firm is up to generally. And then I would recommend that you prepare a personal strategic plan. I do this every year. Our firm does this every year. I recommend everybody does this every year. I'm going to share sort of the outlines of what I do and what I recommend others to do. And I co-wrote a book for the FDCC with John Remsen. It is available on my website, miamimentor.com, and I believe FDCC may have it as well on their website. It is sort of a soup to nuts on law firm marketing, attorney marketing. It's Attorney Marketing 101. And it provides all the tips and tricks of the trade and how to develop your practice and build your name and build your brand. And there's a section there on personal marketing plans. And what I'm about to share with you is also in that book. And again, you can go to my website, miamimentor.com, go under bookshelf, scroll down, and you'll be able to click and get a free PDF of the book. Most of my books there are free. The idea of developing a personal marketing plan is that first and foremost, you define who your ideal clients are. What clients do you want to target in terms of who you want to pursue, both in terms of what market you're pursuing and specific clients you have in mind. Then you go through your contact list and ask yourself which of your contacts fall within those auspices. People you already know and you have a relationship with. Some you'll have a better or deeper or stronger relationship than with others. And you want to foster a relationship over the next 12 months. And so and you're create a list, sort of your A list of contacts. And you even may go down to your B list of contacts in terms of folks that maybe sort of fall a little further outside of your bubble or outside your field of influence, or maybe are folks that maybe aren't exactly in that area, but you think may lead to business for the firm. And then you ask yourself, well, how am I going to reach out or stay in touch with these individuals over the next coming year? And then there are two types of contacts. I like to put them in two sort of buckets. The one bucket is specific hands-on personal touch with these specific individuals. And the other one is sort of a more generic, robust, general contacts. The specific contacts are getting to know people on a personal level, sending them personal notes, handwritten notes. I always recommend that all lawyers have their own personal stationery and get in the habit of writing at least one handwritten note, if not two per week, and sending those out there. Also setting up coffees, lunches, or dinners. Now, obviously in the area of COVID, that's not probably the best way or not realistic, and may not be realistic for several more months. But pre-COVID, what I would do is there was a coffee shop right across the street from my office. It was actually about a 1 minute walk. I would go down to the lobby and walk across the street. It opened up around 7:30, and I would meet for coffee at 7:30 twice a week with local contacts. And what I liked about that was, one, it started before all the emails started filling up my phone and blowing up my phone. It got me in the office early because I had to meet somebody at 7:30 in the morning. Coffee is obviously less expensive than having lunch or dinner or drinks. It's also faster. You can kind of have a faster, more succinct meeting. And so it really kind of touched all the bases. And I was able in terms of the time and effort it would take for maybe 4 or 5 lunches in a month, I could have a dozen or even close to 2 dozen coffees a month if I really wanted to. So it was less expensive, less time consuming, created less of an issue for people. And I think people appreciated that. They too wanted to have meetings earlier in the day. They didn't want to spend that much money or time. It had less sort of, it didn't seem as serious or significant. It was more sort of a casual conversation. And it was a great way of meeting people and talking to folks. And being that I was in Brickell City Center, I was sort of in an area where people wanted to come and have coffee, and it was a nice little French bistro coffee shop, and people were happy to meet me there. So as far as my day was concerned, it was always easy to do that. And once things returned to normal, instead of running back to lunches and dinners and drinks, I would suggest having a coffee. And something else you may want to consider doing is giving each of your, this is more of a message not for young lawyers, but the extent more senior lawyers are listening to this, giving all your young lawyers a Starbucks or a other local coffee shop gift card every month, maybe giving them a $25 gift card every month and asking them to use it to meet potential clients or prospective clients. That's a great way of getting people out of the office and meeting people. So that's one way, an actual physical meeting, coffee, for example. A Zoom call, something else you can set up. It's better than a phone call, but certainly phone calls are perfectly fine. You can message people through LinkedIn, Facebook, and other methods. And writing personal letters, I think, is a nice touch. I remember every personal letter I get my share because I send out my share. And it's always nice to receive the personal note on somebody's letterhead or on a card from their office, saying whatever they're going to say. Emails are fine, text messages are fine, but there's something about handwritten notes that really kind of set them apart. And again, what you're trying to do is you're trying to lay the foundation for a personal relationship so that people get to know, like, and trust you, so that when they have a case, they know that they have somebody they can call in your area to handle that type of matter. So there's those specific individual touches of the people on that A list. And then on the other part, on the B part, is sort of a more generic way of reaching out to people. And this is sort of your general marketing efforts. On the one hand, you're going to engage specifically once a week, maybe twice a week, with individuals by sending them letters or having coffee with them or meeting with them virtually. And on the other hand, you're going to push yourself out there through regular posting on social media, through writing articles and doing webinars or podcasts, and getting that material out there to your followers, contacts, friends, and people on your virtual Rolodex. And why you're doing this is really significant. The thing is that not only does somebody need to know and think of you as a subject matter expert and handle their cases, they have to think about you at the moment they have that need. When a case comes across their desk, they have to think of Frank Ramos as the person to defend their negligent security cases. And I gave that as an example. And so for them to think of me, not only do they have to know me and like me and trust me, but for some reason I've had to come into their radar or their existence in the last week or two. And obviously I'm not having coffee with them every month or every other month. That's something that's done much more sporadically. But if I'm on their feed, in their LinkedIn feed, their Facebook feed, their Twitter feed, and I'm sending out regular newsletters, for example, or I'm blogging, they're following my blog, I have my own podcast, or I am doing a regular series of webinars, or I'm writing books, or whatever it might be. And I am on front of mind, they are thinking about me, then they're probably going to call me. Yes, there's a lot of moving parts here. One, you have to be an expert. Two, people have to know and like you and understand that you're an expert, and they have to be thinking of you at the moment they have a case. So the stars somewhat have to align, but if you do all that, that's fine. So getting back to the marketing plan, I mentioned listing all the top people and then coming up with sort of a calendar where you're going to make an effort to meet them and interact with them either personally or virtually over the next 12 months. And you're going to do that not only on a personal level, but you're going to do it on a more abstract level through social media and these other means I've spoken with. So that's sort of the second part of the marketing plan. What are the specific things you're going to do so that you get on the radar of these individuals, so that when they have a case, they contact you. And we already went through that. You're going to reach out to them personally, or you're going to do that to them virtually, or obviously through social media. And then the next level of the marketing plan is, what are specific things you're going to do, not only to sort of market yourself, but to get involved so you develop a better reputation. Obviously, you're going to continue working on the cases that you work on. You're going to do good work for your client. You're going to be responsive to your clients. You're going to provide superior customer service. And that's something that as lawyers, we never really got taught or trained about. But what we do as lawyers is customer service. It's not all that different than being a waiter at a fine restaurant. Not to be dismissive of either what we do or what waiters do, but when you go to a really nice restaurant and you take your spouse or a loved one, you expect really quality care and quality attention. And when clients come to attorneys, and we charge what we charge, and some of us charge more than others, but certainly it's not inconsequential or small amount. They expect stellar customer service. They expect their calls to be returned promptly, their emails returned promptly. They expect us to give them answers to their specific questions. They want us to communicate to them on their terms, whether they want us to text them or they want us to email them, and they have certain standards and billing procedures and how they want matters handled. So, we give them what they want. But sort of in a larger sense, we also have to be part of a larger legal community. We have to be part of a community where we are known as leaders, thought leaders, actual leaders, and we develop a certain confidence and gravitas, and people come to know us as, this person is leading this organization, they're leading this committee, and they're doing it in such a way that they're also sort of highlighting their subject matter expertise. That's the person I want to hire. So over the next 12 months, you have to ask yourself, what articles do I want to write? Where do I want to get published? What organizations do I want to join or get more involved in? What committees do I want to get involved in? What activities do I want to do for those committees? And really drill down, think through that. If you join an organization, let's say you join a civil defense organization, at some point, do you want to lead a committee? And at some point, do you want to lead the organization itself? Do you want to be nominated or elected to the board and ultimately become president of the organization? My approach to organizations, and I've shared this with everybody, and I don't want to sound overly ambitious or self-righteous about that, but I don't join an organization unless I think at some point I can lead the organization. And if I don't think I'm a good fit for the organization, then I don't join it. If I'm not going to join an organization just to pay dues, I'm not going to join an organization just to put it on a resume. I'm going to do the hard work. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to serve. I'm going to volunteer. And one day I'm going to lead at some level, and preferably at the highest levels of the organization. And I always tell people that when they join an organization, their long-term goals. Obviously, is to serve the organization, serve its members, but their long-term goals is to secure leadership roles, and ultimately, if possible, the highest leadership role the organization has to offer. And along the way, you're doing it in a pleasant way. You're doing it in a servant-oriented way, servant leadership, where you're putting others first, but you are building your credentials, you're building your resume, you're developing and building your brand. People are coming to know you and like you and trust you. And so as you ascend in the organization and you go from one committee position to the next and one leadership role to the next, you are building and deepening and expanding your personal relationship with others who will come to see you as someone that they know, like, and trust, and firm matters to. So as part of your marketing plan, there has to be some line item there in terms of what organizations you want to get involved in or further get involved in over the next 12 months, and what that looks like in terms of what you want to pursue, what time commitment you are dedicating to it, and what the expense may be, both to you and to your firm. Because at the end of the day, you probably need a budget as well. It's also, I think, a very important part of any personal marketing plan is a budget. There'll be certain dollars you're gonna have to pull out of your own pocket, and there's certain dollars you're gonna have to seek from your firm. And I think the earlier you do it, the better. And if you do it as a larger marketing plan and you share that with the marketing partner or managing partner in your firm, they're going to see that you're serious about it, that you have a long-term plan and strategy, and they'll be more inclined and predisposed to funding your efforts. And actually, if you think through it, you'll probably be able to come up with the best ideas that work for you, as opposed to simply running off and joining an organization or speaking at an event and not having sort of an overarching theme or approach on how you deal with it. But by sitting down and really plotting it out, planning it out on a month-to-month, even a week-to-week basis, figuring out on the one hand who your contacts are, who you want your contacts. I mean, how you deepen those relationships, both on a personal, more virtual level and a more abstract level. And two, how you really sort of grow your expertise and your sort of influence, your realm of influence. And often I think the tried and true way is through organizational involvement, through getting involved in civil defense organizations. You're a defense lawyer. If you practice another area, then whatever organization caters to that type of practice. But here I'm speaking, predominantly to civil defense lawyers, and so obviously civil defense organizations would be the go-to organization you would join, get involved, and volunteer. And so you start at the bottom, you do the grunt work, you do the things nobody else wants to do. It typically involves editing newsletters or writing. Although I love to write, a lot of people find it somewhat tedious or hardworking, and they don't want to contribute to the publications, and which I find kind of ironic. I just can't write enough. But you help market events. People don't like marketing. You help with membership drives. People don't like calling people and asking them to join members. These are all the basic things, but these are very important and crucial aspects of any organization. And you show that you are reliable, that you are hardworking, that you're easy to get along with, that you do what you say. I guess you under promise and over deliver, and you do everything that is given to you as best as you can. And you are a team player, and you will get noticed, and you will be appointed to positions. If not appointed, you will certainly lay the foundation for you to run for positions and seek leadership roles. And over the long term, 5, 10, 15 years, you will rise in the ranks. And eventually, if you have done the right work and you have done it with the right attitude and approach, you will become one of the leaders of the organization, one of the top leaders, and potentially the titular leader, the president or the chairperson of the organization. So that is sort of the general approach, in terms of doing a marketing plan. And it is a sort of a tried and true approach. It is a very basic and simple approach. There's no surprises. There isn't any magic pills or silver bullets. It is becoming an expert in one or more fields and finding a way to let others know that you're an expert, writing, speaking, participating, leading, and joining, and doing all the things that are involved in developing a reputation and a brand and sort of a footprint, whether it's online or elsewhere, that people come to see you as an expert in that area. Is it time consuming? Yes. This is above and beyond your billable hour requirement. This is stuff that you need to do and find time for. You still have to take your depositions and handle your hearings and file your motions and draft your briefs and research your memos and so on and so forth. And it's not for everybody. I get it. Not everybody wants to do that. I've met many lawyers in their careers who are happy to just come in and bill their hours. But if you really want to define and control your career, uh, those who can develop business and grow their book of business and can attract clients and keep clients are the types of attorneys that firms want, reward, and try to do what they can to keep them happy. And for those lawyers who are just coming in and billing the hours and going home, they're much more fungible, unfortunately. And when firms have to make cuts, this year, this COVID year, unfortunately, a lot of firms had to dismiss and let go of some people. The people sort of at the bottom, the folks that were billing the hours but weren't producing or generating revenue, those were the first to go. So for your own well-being, for your own career longevity, take the time to invest in yourself and do business development. And again, I would direct you to a book by the FDCC that I wrote with John Remsen. John Remsen, by the way, I don't know if I went into any great detail, is sort of a law firm marketing guru. He is a gentleman who worked with our law firm, Clark Silverglade, here in Miami a number of years ago, I want to say in the early 2000s, and kind of brought the idea of long-term marketing and planning and kind of the idea that I provided you and sort of the outlines of that idea out in terms of the structure was really derived from him in the book. Especially that section is based on the marketing plans that he worked with us on and works with other firms on. Again, it's Attorney Marketing 101. It's a quick read. It's sort of the soup and nuts on law firm marketing. And I hope you find it helpful and useful. Again, my name is Frank Ramos. I'm here in Clark Silverglade here in Miami. I'm easy to reach. If you go to my website, miamimentor.com, there's a way you can reach me, and I'm happy to have a virtual meeting with you, and I can kind of talk through these ideas further. I also speak on a variety of other events and issues and ideas, and I really enjoy trying to mentor and help young lawyers. It is a fun but challenging and sometimes difficult career that we've chosen. And if I can help in any way, I'm happy to do so. Until next time, my name is Frank Ramos. You have a great day. And if you happen to catch this before the holidays, have a great set of holidays. And if it's after, welcome to the new year. Bye-bye.